What's up, everybody? It's the Digital World Podcast. And I was looking through Global ID because I was curious about it, given the fact that there's a lot of push for these digital passports. And so I was kind of curious and I started looking. And I want to read this to you guys and also have a few clips to show you. But I want to give you an idea of where things are tending. And if you don't watch George Gammon, I highly would recommend watching because he points out very interesting aspects of where these digital passes can go and where it could lead to almost a totalitarian sort of society. Now we see here it says every person has a right and a responsibility to secure, trusted, and private identity. Sounds good, right? The prevalence of electronic connections implies that we must each identify ourselves to prove our authorization for particular conduct. Okay, now that starts getting a little. Yeah, I see where they're coming from, but you got to see both sides of the coin without necessarily having to give up any more private details than necessary. For two parties to conduct their affairs in a trusted manner requires balancing reciprocal security and privacy concern. Now, this is when it starts getting interesting because the fact that they're talking about this means that there's an area of concern. Now, listen closely. It says, age old concerns about Big Brother have chilled expectations about a corporation or government balancing these competing values. So they're saying, well, if we have this digital identity and the government controls it, then, there's like a freedom aspect or a freedom issue here with this. However, the advent of new technologies such as distributed ledgers suggests new possibilities for a universal and portable identity solution that does not require a centralized authority. The Global ID mission is to harness both new technical and governance possibilities to create a little brother identity helper rather than a big brother identity overlord. And their efforts are focused on digital financial identity, although we may pursue other use cases. Okay, so I just want to point out that they're saying we want to do little brother identity rather than the big brother identity overlord. But here's the issue. There's a fine line, and it doesn't matter. Yeah, we can have distributed ledgers, but whoever is in charge or whoever's making the laws can make it so that, hey, if you don't have your digital pass, you may not be able to enter into the store without identifying that you have this, and that in your wallet. But if you don't have the required um, uh, information in your wallet, you may not be allowed to go inside a store or a business. And this is the details that I'm trying to get at here. And the fact that they're mentioning, the big brother versus little brother, or the concerns about big brother holding um, or being able to hold all our information and dictate where we can go, that's for me that's a concern already. And here it says many of the world's poor individuals are unable to participate in the connected world given they lack a digital identity to garner access to particular offerings in society. Nevertheless, even for those who have granted access, the status quo is friction laden with redundant signups as well as susceptible to abuse by bad actors. So not only do they want to, get these, first world countries on board um, through the explanation that, the status quo is fraction laden and stuff, and there's redundant signups, but they also want to get individuals who are not connected. So they want the whole world, poor, rich, whatever the case, to be inside the system to have a digital identity. And when you start trying to keep track of everyone and control everyone, it leads to a dangerous road. And this is what I'm trying to bring up. Now, you may say, no, but the technology, it's looking towards the future. It's facilitating everything. It makes it easier. All I got to do is show it, and all my information is there, and I can choose to whom I share that with. Yeah, of course, it makes it easier. But you have to understand there's particular parties that may have an interest in controlling that data. Yes, they're talking about distributed ledgers, so it doesn't mean that one entity controls it. However, like I was saying earlier, if you want to go to a store or a business and you don't have the requisite information in your wallet that would allow you to enter, you may not be able to enter. Just that's just a thought there. Now it says, let me see here. The global identity framework describes the ability for individuals to control their assets as well as permission-based conduct rightly and responsibly, and therefore in turn be trusted by others who do the same. This is only possible by reciprocally balancing the rights and responsibilities of a universal and portable identity framework. Okay, so they're trying to do this on a global scale, and um, it's interesting because they say here, to date, no one has ever conceived of a central power to do all of this without veering into an Orwellian Big Brother reality. And there's a reason why um, it hasn't been done. And the fact that they're coming with this new decentralized technology, while it sounds good, there's always a slippery slope. There's always a slippery slope. If you lived in New York and you had that digital pass, some stores will not allow you to enter and patronize if you did not have that pass. So just because you can have a digital identity doesn't necessarily mean you'll be accepted everywhere. Like I said, if you don't have all the information they're looking for and you scan it and it shows that you don't have that, you may not be able to enter in. Now, let's go to a few clips that I want to show you here. And this is just to get you thinking about this because this is a conversation that's really being discussed about a global identity. And if you're seeing what's happening around the world with digital passes, so keep in mind that while it does facilitate and make things easy for you to just show all the, if you have your health information, if you have your financial information, if you have, whatever, etc., on there, you can choose to easily scan it and they'll be able to identify you rapidly. But like I say, there's this fine line and a slippery slope. Here is, I believe it is this guy right here, and he is Vadim Slavin, Director of Global ID's Credentials Platform. Okay, so we're going to look at a few clips of him talking. Now, pay attention to what he says because it's very relevant. Ecosystem. It's what enables them to request. Oh, sorry, let me take it off to speed. Okay, here we go.
And get offered different digital credentials so they can hold it in their wallet. And the same credential could be obtained in multiple different ways. For example, if you need to hold your COVID vaccine record credential, there's multiple ways to get that credential from the state of California because they have the registry of all the vaccinations that are made, or you can get it through the means of other third parties that have access to your health records. But the end result is that you can hold that credential in your wallet and you can use it wherever that credential is accepted. So there's multiple different ways that a credential can end up in your wallet. It could be as a result of direct issuance. For example, you join a group and that group member says, hey, I know you, I know your skills, whatever else that may be, and they can issue you a credential directly. So for example, they can come up with their own different types of credentials and create their own ecosystem of credentials. And so that is just one type of a credential you can get through the credentials platform. Another type of a credential you can get is by walking into a bank, talking to the teller, and by visually interacting with you, the teller would be able to authenticate you right there on the spot using their own traditional means, and then issue you a digital certificate so that you can safely interact with their customer service representatives over the phone. So they don't have to ask you a whole bunch of questions, verify your name, your address. You push a button, the credential is sent over, and they know that they are talking you and nobody else. Another way to get a credential is by verifying some part of your identity. For example, your driver's license or your passport. You can send it over to a company that will read it, verify it, authenticate it, and issue you a digital version of that passport as a credential. So those are the main ways that you can get credentials. Traditionally at Global ID, we've been working with verifications only, but we're now expanding it to a full credentials platform that supports any type of a credential that could be issued to a user.
Okay, so now um, they've expanded so that any credentials platform, he gave some examples, one having to do with finance and one having to do with health. And he's saying we're working so that we can get it all on our credentials platform so this can be issued. Now you see the slippery slope that I'm talking about here, where they say they want to create a little brother aspect as opposed to the big brother aspect that I showed you over here, right there, little brother identity helper. Okay, and the fact that they're mentioning that should already make you make a flag come up and think like, whoa, okay, this is getting a little too far. Yeah, if you call and they can just authenticate that it's you, it makes it a lot easier instead of having to go through the various steps. But would you rather go through the various steps than having a controlled society that's on a platform, whether they call it decentralized or not? But it's not the aspect of I'm not arguing against the technology and how it makes it easier. It's more about what's next if they have control of this, you know? Will I be allowed to patronize whatever place I would like, or will I have limits? That's when this digital identity starts becoming a little bit of an issue. Now, here is another clip that I'm going to show you. Okay, here we go. And he's talking about Apple's digital identification that they're using and how he believes that they might partner with states that are more willing to do that and have like they're starting their own silo essentially of a digital identity. And he thinks that the only way this can happen is probably through the government. So let me just play that.
I'm going to venture a guess that this is going to require Apple's integration with government agencies directly. So it's not going to be a third-party verification of your physical credential, but rather direct issuance to your wallet from within those data systems. Um, but there's other questions that people are having as well. Like, what does it mean for somebody to accept a digital version of your driver's license when you're stopped by the police officer, for example? Does that mean that you're going to have to give your whole phone to them, unlock it, and just have them take your phone into their car, just like you do today with a driver's license? What does it mean for you to have your passport on your phone when you're crossing the border? Again, the same thing. Will they scan something on my phone, or will I be able to scan something on their device? And there's a big difference in that very simple action. One thing is that you're in control because you get to choose whether you scan something or not, as opposed to the officer of the law coming over and scanning your phone just because they're next to it, if it's going to be supported by NFC technology.
Okay, so basically, he's saying that for Apple, he thinks, and he's guessing that they're probably gonna go to the government directly, and so that's the type of things where there's a fine slippery slope, a fine line, where it could really go to the big brother case instead of the whole little brother helper that they're trying to advocate for. Now, the last one has to do with health passports, and this is his opinion on it, okay? And I'm showing this to get you guys thinking about what's really the initiative and the motives for all this, especially if you're trying to get the people who don't have an identity for the reason they say that they can't participate because they don't have an identity. But what's the whole cost of getting everyone in the world, even the poor, on this? Is it a control type of system? Why? What's the initiative for it? So here's the last part where he talks.
Question that would come out of a decision to actually accept verified, validated, authenticated digital certificates of your proof of vaccination. What would that future look like? So that's what we're working on at Global ID right now, trying to make sense of different COVID certificates out there. EU has come out with its own scheme. America seems to be using smart health cards. California and New York are at the forefront, and yet they're still using different technologies. Is there going to be an ecosystem around this? So a lot of interesting questions, but we want to be ready in case a technology like that is going to be required.
Yeah.
Okay. And there you have it. They want to be ready because they want to have it on their credentials platform and have everything of that you would need in your wallet on their platform. And so these are kind of thoughts to get you thinking about, because this is a conversation. This is a real conversation that's happening. And with this whole, cerveza sickness, it begs you to ask the question, okay? And I want to present this to you. And like I said, I present things so you can start thinking about it, be ahead of the curve, and prepare yourself for whatever may come. And that's it for today. I hope this episode has brought you some value. Like and subscribe, comment below. What are your thoughts? As always, I like hearing from you. This is the Digital World Podcast, and I'll see you in the next episode.